They say you know you're getting divorced when you start Googling best whiskey for heartbreak at 3 in the morning. I'm Rowan Kerrick, 37 years old, mechanical engineer at McNally Industrial Solutions, and apparently the kind of guy who thinks Jack Daniels can solve marital problems. Spoiler alert, it can't. My wife Reina sits across from me at our granite kitchen island, scrolling through her phone with the intensity of a day trader watching stocks crash. She's 35, works in marketing for some tech startup downtown, and has perfected the art of making every conversation feel like a performance review where I'm always underperforming. "You're staring again," she says without looking up from her screen. Her blonde hair falls in perfect waves around her shoulders, the kind of waves that cost $200 every 6 weeks at that salon in Westfield. "Just wondering what's so fascinating on that thing," I reply, sipping my coffee. "It tastes bitter this morning, like everything else in our house." "Work stuff. You wouldn't understand." There it is. The casual dismissal that's become her signature move. I'm just a mechanical engineer who designs industrial cooling systems. What could I possibly understand about the complex world of social media marketing? My phone buzzes with a text from my boss, Old Man McNally. "Need those compressor specs by noon, Kerrick." Clients breathing down my neck. "Speaking of work," I say, standing up. "I've got to head in early today. Big presentation." Reina finally looks up, her green eyes scanning me like I'm a suspect in a lineup. "Another presentation? Seems like you're always having big presentations lately." "Yeah, well, some of us are trying to advance our careers." She laughs. Not the warm laugh I fell in love with 8 years ago, but something sharp and hollow. "Right. Because designing air conditioners for warehouses is really climbing the corporate ladder." I grab my travel mug and head for the door. At least I'm not spending my day figuring out how to trick people into buying things they don't need. That's rich, coming from someone who bought a motorcycle he never rides. She's got me there. The Kawasaki sits in our garage under a tarp, collecting dust and regret. I bought it 2 years ago during what Reina called my midlife crisis phase. Maybe she was right. Maybe everything I do is just another symptom of my fundamental inadequacy. The drive to work takes me through our suburban neighborhood, rows of identical houses with identical lawns, inhabited by identical couples pretending their marriages aren't slowly imploding. At least, that's how it feels this morning. McNally Industrial Solutions occupies a squat brick building in the industrial district, sandwiched between a tire shop and a place that repairs commercial refrigerators. Not glamorous, but honest work. Old Man McNally built this company from nothing 40 years ago, and he's never pretended to be anything other than what he is. A guy who knows how to keep things cool when they're supposed to be cool. "You look like someone peed in your cornflakes," McNally says when I walk into his office. He's 68, built like a fire hydrant, and has never met a problem he couldn't solve with either engineering or profanity. "Just the usual domestic bliss," I say, settling into the chair across from his desk. "Reina giving you grief again?" McNally's been married to the same woman for 43 years. They fight like cats in a bag, but there's something real between them. Something I'm starting to think Reina any never had. "Nothing I can't handle." "You know what your problem is, Kerrick? You're too nice. Women say they want a nice guy, but what they really want is a guy who knows when to stop being nice." I'm not sure what that means, but I nod anyway. "About those compressor specs." "Right. Johnson Logistics wants a complete overhaul of their cold storage system. 30,000 square feet, temperature controlled to within 2 degrees. They're willing to pay premium for premium work. This is the kind of project that could set us up for months. Complex, technical, requiring the kind of precision engineering that makes my brain happy. It's also the kind of project that means long hours, weekend work, and more ammunition for Reina's "you care more about your job than your marriage" artillery. I spend the morning lost in calculations and CAD drawings, designing a system that will keep produce fresh while minimizing energy costs. It's satisfying work. Problems with clear solutions, variables that behave predictably, outcomes that make sense. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Around lunch, I drive to the coffee shop near our house. Grind Coffee is one of those places that charges $5 for drinks that used to cost 50 cents, but they make a decent sandwich and the Wi-Fi is reliable. I'm hoping to spot Reina's car in the parking lot, maybe suggest we grab lunch together, try to salvage something from this morning's disaster. Instead, I see Bree Martinez and Canna Walsh sitting at a corner table, heads bent together in the kind of intense conversation that usually means someone's getting divorced or someone's pregnant. Bree and Kana are Reina's best friends, or were until some falling out a few months ago that Reina refuses to discuss. Bree is sharp, witty, and has always been friendly to me. She's a paralegal at a downtown law firm, divorced, no kids, and possesses the kind of cutting intelligence that makes her dangerous in the right circumstances. Kana is more impulsive, works as a dental hygienist, and has a talent for finding herself in complicated situations with complicated men. I order my usual, turkey and Swiss on sourdough, black coffee, and settle at a table where I can pretend to work on my laptop while eavesdropping. It's not my finest moment, but desperate times call for desperate measures. She's completely lost her mind, Bree is saying, stirring sugar into her latte. Did you see her Instagram post yesterday? Living my best life, with that ridiculous sunset filter. The one where she's wearing that dress we bought her for her birthday? Kina asks. The dress she said made her look desperate? That's the one. Apparently it doesn't make her look desperate anymore. Apparently it makes her look authentic and empowered. They're definitely talking about Reina. The dress in question is a red number that costs more than my motorcycle payment, purchased during a girls' trip to Chicago that generated 3 days of credit card statements I'm still trying to understand. I feel bad for Rowan, Kina says, and my ears perk up. He's a good guy. He doesn't deserve this. Good guys finish last, Bree replies, especially when they're married to women who think they deserve better than what they have. Do you think he knows? About Derek? He'd have to be blind not to notice something's going on. Derek. The name hits me like a punch to the gut. Derek Mallon, Reina's ex-boyfriend from college. The guy she dated before we met. The guy she always claimed was just a friend when his name came up in conversation. The guy who drives a silver BMW and works in ET for some consulting firm downtown. I close my laptop and walk out of the coffee shop, leaving my sandwich untouched. The pieces are falling into place now, the late nights, the mysterious phone calls, the sudden interest in going to the gym, the way she flinches when I touch her. The drive home feels like swimming through molasses. Every traffic light, every stop sign, every moment between discovery and confirmation stretches into eternity. I park in our driveway and sit for a moment, staring at our house. It's a good house, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, everything a successful suburban couple is supposed to want. Inside, I head straight for Reina's home office. She keeps her personal stuff in the desk drawer, receipts, old photos, random paperwork. I'm not proud of what I'm about to do, but I'm past caring about privacy and trust and all the other concepts that apparently died while I wasn't paying attention. The burner phone is tucked behind a stack of old magazines. It's a cheap flip phone, the kind drug dealers use in movies, the kind someone buys when they don't want their regular phone to record their activities. I flip it open and scroll through the messages. The first few are innocent enough. How was your day? And thinking about you. But they quickly escalate into territory that makes my hands shake with rage. Derek. Can't wait to see you tonight. Same place? Reina. Yes. R is working late again. Won't be home until after 10? Derek. Good. I've been thinking about last weekend all week. Reina. Me too. I can't keep pretending everything's normal at home. Derek. You don't have to pretend much longer. Just say the word and I'll help you pack. I scroll back through weeks of messages, each one a small betrayal, each one a piece of evidence that my marriage has been over for longer than I realized. There are photos too, nothing explicit, but intimate enough to make me want to throw the phone against the wall. Instead, I carefully photograph each message with my own phone, building a file that might come in handy later. Then I put the burner phone back exactly where I found it and walk downstairs to pour myself that whiskey I've been Googling. I'm on my second glass when Reina comes home. She breezes through the front door like she's walking onto a movie set, all energy and artificial cheer. Hey, honey, she calls out, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. How was your day? Fine, I say, studying her face for any sign of guilt or nervousness. How was yours? Oh, same old marketing chaos. We're launching a new campaign next week and everyone's freaking out about the metrics. She moves around the kitchen with practiced efficiency, opening the refrigerator, checking her reflection in the microwave door, scrolling through her phone. It's a performance I've watched 1,000 times, but now I can see the calculation behind every gesture. I might be working late tomorrow night, she says, not looking at me. Big client presentation. Another one? You've been working a lot of late nights lately. It's a competitive industry. You have to put in the hours if you want to succeed. The irony is suffocating. She's lecturing me about career ambition while planning her next rendezvous with her ex-boyfriend. Maybe I should come by your office sometime, I suggest. Take you to dinner after one of these late meetings. For just a moment, her mask slips. I see panic flash across her face before she recovers. That's sweet, but you know how crazy things get. I'd hate for you to waste your time sitting around waiting for me to finish up. I wouldn't mind. Really, Rowan, it's better if you just stay home. I'll grab something on the way back. She disappears upstairs to change clothes, leaving me alone with my whiskey and my racing thoughts. Part of me wants to confront her right now, to throw the evidence in her face and demand an explanation, but another part of me, the engineer part that likes to analyze problems before proposing solutions, wants to understand the full scope of the situation before I make my move. 20 minutes later, she comes back downstairs wearing jeans and a sweater that costs more than most people spend on groceries in a month. I'm going to meet Jessica for drinks, she announces. Girl talk. You know how it is. Jessica is her coworker, a single woman in her 20s who seems to exist primarily to provide alibis for Reina's increasingly frequent nights out. Have fun, I say, raising my glass in a mock toast. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. She kisses me on the cheek, a perfunctory gesture that feels like a business handshake, and heads for the door. Don't wait up. Jessica's going through a rough breakup, so we might be out late. I watch through the front window as she backs out of the driveway. Her taillights disappear around the corner, and I'm alone in our house with the weight of everything I now know. I pour another whiskey and settle into my recliner, staring at the framed photos on our mantelpiece. Our wedding day, vacations, holidays with family, a catalog of moments that felt real at the time but now seem like elaborate fiction. My phone buzzes with a text message. For a moment, I think it might be Reina, maybe feeling guilty about lying to me. Instead, it's from a number I don't recognize. Hey Rowan, this is Bree Martinez. Reina's friend? I got your number from the old group chat. I was wondering if we could talk sometime. There are some things you should probably know. I stare at the message for a long time before responding. I'm listening. Not over text. Can you meet me for coffee tomorrow? Grind coffee around noon? I'll be there. I set the phone down and finish my drink. Tomorrow I'll learn exactly how bad things have gotten. Tonight, I'm going to sit in my expensive house with my expensive furniture and my expensive wife's expensive lies, and I'm going to plan what comes next. Because if there's one thing I've learned from 20 years of engineering, it's that every system has a breaking point. And when something breaks, you have two choices. You can try to fix it, or you can build something better from the pieces. I'm pretty sure I know which option I'm going to choose. The next morning arrives with the subtle warmth of a funeral. Reina stumbles downstairs at 7:30, looking like she wrestled with her conscience all night and lost. Her makeup is smudged, her hair resembles a bird's nest, and she's wearing the same clothes from yesterday. Rough night with Jessica? I ask, not looking up from my newspaper. She's really going through it, Reina mumbles, pouring coffee with shaking hands. We talked until almost 3. That's what friends are for. She glances at me suspiciously, probably wondering if there's sarcasm hidden in my tone. There is, but I've had years of practice keeping my voice neutral during her performances. I'm going to shower and head straight to work, she says. Running behind schedule? Take your time. I'm sure your boss will understand. 20 minutes later, she's gone, leaving behind the lingering scent of guilt and expensive perfume. I finish my coffee, grab my laptop, and head for Grind Coffee to meet Bree. She's already there when I arrive, sitting at the same corner table where I overheard her conversation with Kina yesterday. She's wearing a navy blue blazer and has her dark hair pulled back in a professional bun. Even at noon on a Tuesday, she looks like she could walk into a courtroom and destroy someone's life with nothing but logic and evidence. Thanks for meeting me, she says as I sit down. I wasn't sure you'd show. I'm here, I say, signaling the barista for coffee. What did you want to talk about? Bree studies my face for a moment, like she's trying to gauge how much truth I can handle. How much do you know about what Reina's been up to lately? Why don't you tell me what you know, and I'll fill in the gaps? She nods, apparently satisfied with my response. Derek Mallon. They've been seeing each other for about 3 months. It started as just texting, then coffee meetings, then more. How do you know this? Because she told Kina and me everything, back when we were still speaking. She was proud of it, Rowan. She thought she was being clever, playing the sophisticated woman having an affair. The barista brings my coffee, and I take a sip to buy myself time to process this information. 3 months. While I was working on the Johnson Logistics project, staying late to perfect the specifications, Reina was rebuilding her relationship with her college boyfriend. What happened between you two? You and Reina, I mean. Bree's expression hardens. She wanted us to lie for her. Provide alibis, cover stories, the whole thing. When we said no, she accused us of being jealous and judgmental, said we didn't understand what it was like to be married to someone who lacked ambition. Lacked ambition? Her words, not mine. For what it's worth, I think you're a good guy who deserves better than what she's putting you through. I appreciate the sentiment, but right now I'm more interested in facts than sympathy. What else do you know? They meet at his apartment downtown. Tuesday and Thursday nights, usually, sometimes weekend afternoons when you're working. She's been telling people that you're controlling and emotionally unavailable, setting up the narrative for when she files for divorce. Is she planning to file? She's been talking to lawyers. Nothing official yet, but she's gathering information about asset division, spousal support, the works. This hits harder than I expected. I knew our marriage was in trouble, but hearing that Reina has been actively planning its destruction while I was trying to fix it feels like getting sucker punched. There's something else, Bree continues. She's been moving money around, small amounts, but consistent, opening new accounts, transferring funds. I think she's trying to hide assets before the divorce proceedings start. How do you know about the money? Kana works at First National. She's seen the account activity. I lean back in my chair, processing the scope of Reina's deception. It's not just an affair. It's a comprehensive plan to dismantle our marriage while maximizing her financial advantage. Part of me is impressed by the thoroughness of it. Part of me wants to throw my coffee cup against the wall. Why are you telling me this? I ask. Because you're a decent person, and decent people shouldn't get screwed over by people they trust. And because Reina made the mistake of thinking Kana and I would help her destroy you. What do you want in return? Bree smiles, not a warm smile, but something sharper and more calculating. Nothing. Well, maybe one thing. When this all comes out, I want to be there to see the look on her face. We shake hands across the table, and I feel like I've just enlisted my first ally in whatever war is coming. Bree gives me her card and tells me to call if I need anything. Legal advice, character witnesses, or just someone to talk to who understands the situation. The drive back to work takes me past Derek's apartment complex. It's one of those modern places with a fancy name, the Meridian at Riverside, that caters to young professionals who want to feel sophisticated without actually being successful. I park across the street and study the building, wondering which window belongs to the man who's been entertaining my wife twice a week for 3 months. A silver BMW sits in the visitor parking area, license plate Derek M. Subtle. I take a photo of the car and the building, adding them to the file I've been building. Then I drive back to work and spend the afternoon losing myself in compressor calculations and refrigeration cycles. Numbers don't lie or cheat or move money into secret accounts. Numbers just are what they are, and right now I need that kind of honesty in my life. Old man McNally stops by my office around 4 o'clock. You look like someone who's been thinking too hard about something that ain't compressors, he says. Personal stuff. Nothing that affects the job. Good, because I just got off the phone with Johnson Logistics. They love your preliminary designs, want to fast-track the whole project. This should be good news, the kind of career advancement that Reina claims I never pursue. Instead, it feels like winning a game I no longer want to play. That's great, I say, trying to inject some enthusiasm into my voice. You sure you're all right, Kerrick? You've been off your game the last couple days? Just some stuff at home. I'll work it out. McNally nods and heads for the door, then stops and turns back. You know what I learned in 43 years of marriage? Sometimes the best thing you can do for a relationship is stop trying so hard to save it. After he leaves, I sit in my office staring at blueprints that might as well be written in ancient Greek. My phone buzzes with a text from Reina. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. It's Tuesday. According to Bree, Tuesday is one of Derek's regular nights. Instead of going home to our empty house, I drive to Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar near the industrial district where the drinks are cheap and the clientele minds their own business. I order a beer and a burger and try to figure out what I'm going to do with all this information I've been collecting. I'm halfway through my second beer when my phone rings. The caller ID shows a number I don't recognize. Hello? Is this Rowan Kerrick? Who's asking? My name is Lisa Chen. I'm a private investigator. Bree Martinez gave me your number. She thought you might be interested in my services. What kind of services? The kind that help people understand exactly what their spouses have been up to. I'm very good at documenting activities, gathering evidence, building comprehensive files that hold up in court. How much? Depends on what you need. Basic surveillance runs about $500 a day. Comprehensive investigation with documentation and testimony runs about $3,000. But given what Bree told me about your situation, I think we can work something out. I find myself agreeing to meet her tomorrow morning. Another ally, another piece of the puzzle I'm assembling. I'm starting to understand why they say revenge is a dish best served cold. It takes time to gather the right ingredients. The next few weeks pass in a blur of secret meetings, covert surveillance, and careful documentation. Lisa Chen turns out to be worth every penny I'm paying her. She's a former police detective who specializes in matrimonial investigations, and she approaches adultery cases with the same methodical precision that I apply to engineering problems. She gets photos of Reina and Derek entering and leaving his apartment. She documents their dinner dates, their weekend trips, their public displays of affection in restaurants across town. She even manages to record some of their conversations, including one particularly damaging exchange where Reina describes me as a boring loser who thinks designing air conditioners makes him important. Meanwhile, I maintain the fiction of our marriage. I go to work, come home, make dinner, watch television, and pretend I don't notice when Reina disappears for hours at a time. It's like living in a play where everyone knows their lines except the audience. The hardest part isn't the deception, it's the loneliness. Our house feels like a museum of a relationship that never really existed. Every shared memory now seems contaminated by the knowledge that Reina was probably thinking about Derek the whole time. But I'm not just wallowing in self-pity, I'm planning. I consult with a divorce attorney, not to file papers, but to understand my options. I meet with a financial advisor to discuss asset protection strategies. I even start looking at apartments just to understand what my post-marriage life might look like. And then, exactly 3 months after I found the burner phone, everything changes. I'm sitting in my office reviewing the final specifications for the Johnson Logistics project when my phone buzzes with a text message. It's from Reina, but it's not her usual working late excuse. I've been thinking about us, about our marriage. I know things haven't been good between us lately, and I want to fix that. I made some mistakes, and I'm sorry. If you can apologize for the way you've been treating me, maybe we can start over. I'm willing to be your wife again, but you need to show me that you're willing to change. I read the message 3 times, each time feeling a different emotion. First confusion, then anger, then something approaching amusement. After 3 months of documented adultery, financial deception, and systematic character assassination, she wants me to apologize for the way I've been treating her. I screenshot the message and forward it to Lisa Chen, Bree, and my attorney. Then I set the phone down and start laughing. Not happy laughter, but the kind of laughter that comes when the universe reveals its sense of irony. My phone rings. It's Bree. "Did you see Reina's text?" she asks. "Just got it. What do you think prompted this sudden change of heart?" "Derek dumped her. Keena heard it through the grapevine. Apparently he met someone else, someone younger and less complicated. Reina's been calling him nonstop for the past 2 days. So now she wants to come home. But here's the thing, Rowan. She's not done with the divorce planning. Keena saw her at the bank yesterday, still moving money around. This reconciliation attempt is just another strategy." "What do you mean?" "She's going to try to get you to take her back, and then file for divorce on her terms. Probably claim that you drove her to have an affair through emotional neglect, then refused to work on the marriage when she tried to reconcile. The audacity of it is breathtaking. Even in defeat, Reina is trying to manipulate the situation to her advantage." "What are you going to do?" Bree asks. I look at my computer screen, where the Johnson Logistics specifications represent months of careful work and attention to detail. Then I look at my phone, where Reina's text represents years of careful deception and manipulation. "I'm going to engineer a solution," I say. I don't respond to Reina's text, not immediately. Instead, I spend the evening researching the legal implications of adultery in our state, reviewing my insurance policies, and making a list of every joint asset we've accumulated during 8 years of marriage. The next morning, I wake up to find Reina sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and what appears to be a prepared speech. "Did you get my message yesterday?" she asks, looking up at me with eyes that are trying very hard to appear sincere. "I got it." "And?" I pour myself coffee and sit across from her, studying her face the way I might study a blueprint with a potential flaw. And I'm wondering what brought on this sudden desire to work on our marriage. I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. About us, about what we want from life, about whether we're both putting in the effort we should be. What kind of effort did you have in mind? Well, for starters, we could try spending more time together, maybe plan a vacation or start doing date nights again, but I think we also need to address some of the underlying issues in our relationship. Such as? Your work schedule, for one thing. You've been putting in a lot of late hours lately, and I feel like we barely see each other anymore. The irony is so thick, I could cut it with a knife. I've been working on a major project. You know that? I know, but there has to be a balance. And then there's the communication issue. Sometimes I feel like you're not really listening when I talk to you. I'm listening now. Are you? Because you seem pretty defensive. I take a sip of my coffee and consider my options. I could confront her right now with everything I know: the affair, the financial manipulation, the character assassination campaign she's been conducting with her friends and family. I could watch her face as I lay out 3 months of documented evidence. I could end this charade immediately. Instead, I decide to see how far she's willing to push this performance. You're right, I say. I have been distracted lately. Maybe we should try to spend more time together. Relief flashes across her face. Really? You mean that? Sure. In fact, why don't we start tonight? I'll come by your office around 6, and we can grab dinner somewhere nice. The relief disappears, replaced by something that looks like panic. Tonight? Oh, that's really sweet, but I already have plans. Rain check? What kind of plans? Just work stuff. A client meeting that got moved to the evening. You know how it is? Actually, I don't know how it is. I've never had a client meeting at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night. It's a West Coast client. Time zone difference. She's improvising now, and she's not very good at it. What's the client's name? What? The client. What company are they with? Why does that matter? Just curious about your work. Isn't that what you want? More communication between us? She stands up abruptly, grabbing her coffee mug and heading for the sink. It's a potential client. Very preliminary. I'd rather not jinx it by talking about it too much. Of course. Well, maybe tomorrow night then. Maybe. I'll have to check my schedule. She disappears upstairs to get ready for work, leaving me alone with the newspaper and my growing sense of anticipation. This is going to be easier than I thought. At 9 o'clock, I call Lisa Chen. I need you to document everything Reina does today, I tell her. Photos, video, locations, times, everything. What's the occasion? She's trying to reconcile our marriage while continuing her affair. I want a complete record of her activities on the day she asked me to give our relationship another chance. Understood. I'll have a full report by tomorrow morning. Next, I call my attorney, David Kowalski. He's a family law specialist with a reputation for being thorough, aggressive, and expensive. More importantly, he's the kind of lawyer who appreciates clients who come prepared with documentation. I think it's time to discuss filing options, I tell him. What's changed? My wife is trying to manipulate me into a reconciliation while continuing her affair and hiding marital assets. I want to file first, on my terms, with maximum impact. How much evidence do you have? 3 months of surveillance, financial records, witness statements, and as of yesterday, a text message where she admits to making mistakes and asks me to apologize for the way I've been treating her. That's a good start. When do you want to move forward? Soon, but not yet. I want to let her dig herself in a little deeper first. Just don't wait too long. The longer you sit on evidence of adultery, the less impact it has in court. After work, I drive to the Meridian at Riverside and park across the street from Derek's apartment building. At 6:47 p.m., Reina's car pulls into the visitor parking area. She gets out, checks her reflection in the car window, and walks into the building like she owns the place. I take photos with my phone, then settle in to wait. Lisa Chen is somewhere nearby, probably getting much better documentation than I can manage, but I want to see this for myself. At 10:23 p.m., Reina emerges from the building, looking satisfied and disheveled. She drives home while I follow at a distance, maintaining the careful surveillance routine I've developed over the past few weeks. I arrive home 5 minutes after she does, finding her in the kitchen making a show of heating up leftover Chinese food. How was your client meeting? I ask. Exhausting. These West Coast people have no sense of reasonable business hours. Did you get the account? Still pending. These things take time. She's remarkably good at lying. I'll give her that. If I didn't know better, I might actually believe her. The next morning, Lisa Chen emails me a comprehensive report with time-stamped photos of Reina entering and leaving Derek's building, plus audio recordings of her laughing and talking intimately with him in the lobby. The contrast between her stated desire to work on our marriage and her actual behavior is stark enough to make any judge take notice. But I'm not ready to file for divorce yet. I'm ready to escalate. Over the next week, I implement what I privately call the Kerrick Gambit, a systematic campaign designed to expose Reina's deception while positioning myself as the injured party who tried everything to save his marriage. First, I start showing up at her office, not to spy or confront, but to be the loving husband who brings his wife lunch and flowers. Her coworkers are charmed by the gesture. Reina is horrified. You can't just show up here unannounced, she hisses when I arrive with sandwiches from her favorite deli. I thought you wanted us to spend more time together. I meant at home, private time. But you're never home. You're always working late or meeting clients. That's my job, Rowan. I know, that's why I'm coming to you. Her colleagues think it's romantic. Her boss mentions how lucky she is to have such a devoted husband. Reina looks like she wants to crawl under her desk and disappear. Next, I start planning elaborate date nights and romantic gestures, then documenting her excuses when she cancels them. Dinner reservations at expensive restaurants, tickets to shows she's mentioned wanting to see, weekend getaways to places we visited when we were dating. I plan them all, then watch her squirm as she tries to find reasons to avoid them. I booked us a table at Chez Laurent for Saturday night. I announce over breakfast on Thursday morning. This Saturday? I think I have something that night. What kind of something? A work thing, team building event. On a Saturday night? It's a dinner cruise, company morale thing. That sounds fun. Maybe I could come along as your +1? It's just for employees? Are you sure? Most company events encourage spouses to attend. This one doesn't. I make a note to have Lisa Chen document whatever Reina actually does on Saturday night, then act disappointed but understanding. Well, maybe we can do Sunday brunch instead. Maybe. I'll have to see how late the cruise runs. By Friday afternoon, I have a comprehensive record of Reina's excuses, evasions, and outright lies, all in response to my attempts to rebuild our marriage. More importantly, I have witnesses, her coworkers, our friends, even her own family, who have observed me making genuine efforts to reconcile while she consistently finds reasons to avoid spending time with me. But the real breakthrough comes when Bree calls me with information that changes everything. Reina's been bad-mouthing you to anyone who'll listen, she tells me. She's claiming that you're trying to control her, that you're showing up at her work to spy on her, that you're being possessive and manipulative. What exactly is she saying? That you're trying to isolate her from her friends and coworkers, that you're demanding to know where she is every minute of the day, that you're using romantic gestures as a way to guilt-trip her into staying in an unhappy marriage. And people believe this? Some do. Others are starting to ask questions, especially after what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday? She had lunch with Derek at that new place downtown, in public, in broad daylight, holding hands across the table like they were teenagers. Jessica from her office saw them and asked me about it. What did you tell her? The truth? That Reina's been having an affair for months while pretending to work on her marriage. Jessica was not pleased. This is the opening I've been waiting for. Reina has overplayed her hand, gotten careless, and now her carefully constructed narrative is starting to unravel. There's something else, Bree continues. Kena heard from someone at the bank that Reina's been asking about international wire transfers. Big ones. How big? $50,000 or more. She's been asking about moving money to offshore accounts. That's half our savings. Exactly. I think she's planning to clean out your accounts and disappear. I thank Bree for the information and immediately call David Kowalski. We need to move fast, I tell him. I think she's planning to take the money and run. How fast? This week, before she has a chance to transfer anything else. I'll prepare the paperwork tonight. We can file first thing Monday morning. What about freezing the accounts? I'll request an emergency injunction as part of the filing. If we can prove she's been hiding assets and planning to move money offshore, the judge will likely grant it. I spend the weekend in a state of controlled anticipation, watching Reina go through the motions of our fake reconciliation, while knowing that everything is about to change. She cancels our Sunday brunch plans, another work emergency, and disappears for 6 hours. Lisa Chen documents her spending the entire afternoon at Derek's apartment. On Monday morning, I wake up early and drive to David Kowalski's office. The divorce papers are comprehensive, detailing every instance of adultery, financial deception, and emotional manipulation that we've documented over the past 3 months. The request for an emergency injunction includes bank records, surveillance photos, and witness statements that paint a clear picture of Reina's systematic attempt to defraud me. We file the papers at 9:04 a.m. By 10:30, the judge has granted the injunction, freezing all joint accounts and preventing any transfers without court approval. By noon, Reina has been served with divorce papers at her office in front of her coworkers by a process server who makes sure everyone knows exactly what's happening. My phone starts ringing at 12:47 p.m. What the hell do you think you're doing? Reina screams when I answer. I'm getting divorced, I say calmly. I thought that's what you wanted. Not like this. You can't just freeze our accounts and humiliate me at work. Actually, I can, and I did. This is insane. I was trying to save our marriage. By having an affair with Derek and moving money into secret accounts? The line goes quiet for a moment. When Reina speaks again, her voice is different, colder, more calculating. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I have 3 months of documentation, Reina. Photos, bank records, witness statements, audio recordings. I know about the burner phone, the Tuesday and Thursday night meetings, the weekend trips, all of it. You've been spying on me? I've been protecting myself from someone who was planning to destroy me. This isn't over, Rowan. You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what you've started. She hangs up, leaving me alone in my office with the satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly. But even as I savor the moment, I know she's right about one thing. This is just the beginning. The next 24 hours unfold like a carefully choreographed disaster. Reina's first move is predictable. She calls her parents, her remaining friends, and anyone else who might provide sympathy for her position as the wronged wife whose controlling husband ambushed her with divorce papers. Her second move is more creative. She shows up at my office at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, accompanied by Derek and what appears to be a lawyer in an expensive suit. "Mr. Kerrick," the lawyer says when old man McNally reluctantly escorts them to my cubicle. "I'm Robert Steinberg, representing Mrs. Kerrick in your divorce proceedings. We need to discuss your recent actions." "I have legal representation," I reply, not looking up from my computer screen. "Any discussions should go through my attorney." "This isn't about legal strategy," Derek interjects, stepping closer to my desk in what I assume is meant to be an intimidating manner. "This is about you acting like a psychopath and ruining people's lives." I finally look up, studying Derek with the same clinical interest I might apply to a malfunctioning compressor. He's exactly what I expected. 6 feet tall, artificially tanned, wearing a polo shirt that's too tight and cologne that's too strong. The kind of guy who peaked in college and has been trying to recapture that glory ever since. "Derek, right?" I say, standing up so we're eye to eye. "I don't think we've been formally introduced. I'm Rowan, Reina's husband, the one she's been married to for 8 years while she was texting you about how much she missed your college relationship." "That's not what happened," Reina says, but her voice lacks conviction. "Really? Because I have about 300 text messages that suggest otherwise." Steinberg clears his throat. "Mr. Kerrick, my client is prepared to offer a reasonable settlement if you're willing to withdraw the more inflammatory allegations in your filing." "What kind of settlement?" 50-50 split of all assets, no spousal support in either direction, and a mutual non-disclosure agreement regarding the circumstances of your separation." "That's generous," I say, "considering that your client has been systematically stealing from our joint accounts and planning to disappear with $50,000 of my money." "That's a serious accusation," Steinberg replies. "Do you have proof of these alleged financial improprieties?" I open my desk drawer and pull out a thick manila folder. Bank records, wire transfer requests, account opening documents, surveillance photos of Reina meeting with offshore banking representatives. Should I continue? The lawyer's confident expression wavers slightly. Derek, meanwhile, looks like he's starting to understand that he's walked into a situation that's more complicated than he anticipated. "This is ridiculous," Reina says. "You're making me sound like some kind of criminal mastermind. I moved some money around to protect it from your controlling behavior." "Protect it from me? It's our money, Reina, from our joint accounts, earned during our marriage. Money that you would have used to manipulate me into staying in a relationship I didn't want." "By manipulate, you mean legally divide according to state law during divorce proceedings?" Old man McNally chooses this moment to reappear. "Kerrick, I hate to interrupt your domestic drama, but we've got a business to run here. Maybe you folks could take this somewhere else." "Of course," Steinberg says smoothly. "We were just leaving." But Derek apparently has other ideas. "This isn't over," he tells me, pointing a finger at my chest. "You think you can just destroy people's lives because you're bitter about your marriage falling apart?" "I didn't destroy anything," I reply. "I just documented what was already happening." "You're pathetic. No wonder she wanted someone else." This is the moment I've been waiting for. Derek revealing his true character in front of witnesses. I glance around the office, noting that at least 6 of my coworkers are within earshot. "You're absolutely right," I say, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I am pathetic. What kind of man lets his wife have a 3-month affair with her ex-boyfriend while she steals money from their joint accounts and plans to disappear? I should have been more attentive to the woman I married, more aware of her needs, more understanding of her desire to relive her college glory days with a guy who drives a BMW with vanity plates." Derek's face turns red. "You son of a—" "Derek," Reina interrupts, grabbing his arm. "Let's go." But Derek is committed now. "You think you're so smart with your little investigation and your evidence and your lawyers? But you know what? She never loved you. She told me all about how boring you are, how you have no ambition, how being married to you was like being married to a piece of furniture." The office has gone completely quiet. Even the phones have stopped ringing. "That's interesting," I say. because just last week she was texting me about how much she wanted to work on our marriage and asking me to apologize for the way I've been treating her. I pull out my phone and start reading from Reina's reconciliation text, projecting my voice so everyone can hear every word. When I finish, the silence is deafening. "Rowan," Reina whispers, "please don't do this." "Do what? Tell the truth? Share the facts? I thought you wanted better communication between us?" Steinberg is tugging on Derek's sleeve, trying to get him to leave before he makes things worse. But Derek is too angry to think strategically. "You want to know the truth?" he shouts. "The truth is that she's been unhappy for years. The truth is that you're a boring, pathetic loser who designs air conditioners for a living. The truth is that she deserves better than what you can give her. And you think you're better? I know I am. Really, because from where I'm standing, you look like a 35-year-old man who seduces married women and drives a car with his name on the license plate. That doesn't scream upgrade to me." Derek takes a step forward, and for a moment I think he might actually try to hit me. Instead, he settles for pointing his finger at my chest again. "You're going to regret this," he says. "I already regret it," I reply. "I regret not figuring out what kind of person I married before I wasted 8 years of my life." Finally, Steinberg manages to drag Derek toward the exit, with Reina following behind like a defeated politician leaving a press conference. As they reach the door, Derek turns back for one final shot. "This isn't over," he shouts. "Yes, it is," I call back. "It's been over for 3 months. You just didn't know it yet." After they leave, my coworkers gradually return to their desks, but I can feel their eyes on me for the rest of the afternoon. By 5 o'clock, the story has spread through the entire office, and by 6 o'clock it's probably made its way to half the industrial district. Old man McNally stops by my desk as I'm packing up for the day. "Hell of a thing," he says. "Sorry about the disruption. I didn't expect them to show up here." "Don't apologize. That boy needed to be taken down a peg or two. And your wife?" He shakes his head. "Well, I guess she ain't your wife much longer." "No, she's not." "You did good, Kerrick. Stood your ground, kept your dignity, let them hang themselves with their own rope. That's how you handle people who try to screw you over." I drive home feeling better than I have in months. The house is empty. Reina is presumably at Derek's apartment, licking her wounds and planning her next move. I pour myself a whiskey and settle into my recliner, reviewing the day's events. My phone buzzes with a text from Bree. "Heard about what happened at your office. The whole story's already making the rounds. Reina's not going to recover from this." Another text, this one from Keena. "Derek came into the bank today trying to close his accounts and move everything to a different branch. Looked like someone who'd been hit by a truck." A third text from Lisa Chen. "Excellent work today. The public confrontation gives us additional evidence of their relationship and his hostile attitude toward you. This will play very well in court. I'm reading through the messages when my doorbell rings. I look through the peephole and see Bree standing on my front porch, holding a bottle of wine and wearing a smile that suggests she has news to share. Thought you might want to celebrate," she says when I open the door. "Celebrate what?" "The fact that you just won the first round of what's going to be a very short war." I invite her in, and we settle in the living room with wine and the satisfaction of a plan executed perfectly. "So, what's the next move?" she asks. I wait. Let them make mistakes. Document everything they do wrong and use it against them in court. That's very methodical of you. I'm an engineer. Methodical is what I do. What if they try to retaliate? Derek seemed pretty angry today. Let them try. Every stupid thing they do just gives me more ammunition. As if on cue, my phone buzzes with a call from an unknown number. I answer it, putting the phone on speaker so Bree can hear. "You think you're so smart." Derek's voice slurs through the speaker. He's clearly been drinking. "You think you won something today. You didn't win anything. You just made an enemy." "Derek, how did you get this number? I have my ways, and I want you to know that this isn't over, not by a long shot." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm promising you. You humiliated me today, and nobody humiliates Derek Mallon." "Actually, you humiliated yourself. I just gave you the opportunity." "You think you're so clever with your evidence and your lawyers and your little investigation. But you know what? I know things about you, too. Things that could make your life very difficult." "Such as?" "Wouldn't you like to know?" The line goes quiet for a moment, and I can hear music and voices in the background. He's probably at some bar, working up his courage with liquid reinforcement. "Derek, are you drunk?" "I'm celebrating. Celebrating the fact that your wife chose me over you. Celebrating the fact that she thinks you're pathetic. celebrating the fact that after this divorce is over, she's going to be with me and you're going to be alone in your boring little house with your boring little job. If that's what you want to celebrate, go ahead. Just leave me out of it. Oh, I'm not leaving you out of anything. In fact, I'm just getting started. He hangs up, leaving Bree and me staring at each other across the coffee table. Well, she says, that was enlightening. He's drunk and angry. People say stupid things when they're drunk and angry. Maybe, but he also sounds like someone who's planning something. I save the call recording and add it to my growing file of evidence. If Derek wants to escalate this situation, I'm ready for whatever he has in mind. But as I go to bed that night, I can't shake the feeling that the easy part is over. Derek and Reina have been publicly humiliated, legally outmaneuvered, and socially exposed. Desperate people do desperate things, and I have a feeling I'm about to find out just how desperate they're willing to get. The escalation begins on Thursday morning when I discover that someone has keyed my truck. Long, deliberate scratches run along both sides, spelling out "loser" in jagged letters across the driver's side door. It's amateur vandalism, the kind of thing an angry teenager might do, but it serves its purpose, letting me know that Derek is serious about his threats. I photograph the damage and file a police report, adding it to the growing pile of documentation that will eventually make its way into court. The responding officer, a tired-looking woman in her 40s, takes notes with the weary efficiency of someone who's seen too many domestic disputes. Any idea who might have done this? She asks. My wife's boyfriend. He called me Tuesday night making threats. Do you have a recording of the call? I play Derek's drunken rant from my phone. The officer raises her eyebrows at the part where he promises that this isn't over. We'll add this to the report, she says, but unless you have witnesses or security footage, it's going to be hard to prove he's the one who damaged your vehicle. I understand. I just want to document it. Smart thinking. These situations have a way of escalating. She's right about that. Over the next week, the harassment intensifies. My work email gets flooded with spam from adult websites. Clearly, someone has been signing me up for every inappropriate mailing list they can find. My credit cards get mysteriously canceled due to suspicious activity that turns out to be false reports filed by someone claiming to be me. My gym membership gets terminated after someone calls claiming I've been harassing other members. Each incident is minor by itself, but together they paint a picture of someone trying to systematically disrupt my life. I document everything, file reports where appropriate, and wait for Derek to make a mistake big enough to give me legal recourse. The mistake comes on Friday night. I'm working late at the office, putting the finishing touches on the Johnson Logistics project when my phone rings. It's Keena, and she sounds panicked. Rowan, you need to get home right now. What's wrong? Derek's at your house. He's drunk and he's trying to break in. Bree and I were driving by and saw him in your driveway. Did you call the police? We're about to, but I thought you should know what's happening. Call them now. I'm on my way. The drive from my office to my house normally takes 15 minutes. I make it in 8, running red lights and exceeding the speed limit by margins that would normally terrify me. As I turn onto my street, I can see Derek's silver BMW parked sideways across my driveway, the driver's door hanging open. Bree's car is parked across the street, and I can see her and Keena sitting inside, phones pressed to their ears. Derek is nowhere visible, but my front porch light is on and my front door is standing wide open. I park behind Derek's car, blocking him in, and approach the house carefully. Through the open door, I can hear Derek moving around inside, muttering to himself and occasionally shouting my name. Rowan, where are you, you pathetic piece of garbage? Come out and face me like a man. I pull out my phone and start recording, then step into my own house to confront the man who's been trying to destroy my life. I find Derek in my living room, holding a baseball bat, my baseball bat from the closet in the spare bedroom, and surveying the damage he's already done. My coffee table is overturned, family photos are scattered across the floor, and there's a hole in the drywall where he's apparently taken a swing at the wall. There you are, he says when he sees me, raising the bat like he's planning to use it. Ready to have that conversation we started the other day? Derek, you're drunk, and you're in my house illegally. The police are on their way. If you leave now, maybe we can work something out. Work something out? Like the way you worked things out when you humiliated me in front of your coworkers? Like the way you worked things out when you destroyed my relationship with Reina? I didn't destroy anything. I just told the truth. Your truth. Your version of events. But you know what? There are other versions. And some of those versions make you look like the bad guy. He's swaying slightly, and his words are slurred. But there's something dangerous in his eyes that makes me keep my distance. What do you want, Derek? I want you to admit what you really are. I want you to admit that you're a controlling, manipulative loser who drove his wife into another man's arms. I'm not going to admit to things that aren't true. They are true. Reina told me all about how you treated her, how you made her feel trapped and worthless, how you used your job and your money to control every aspect of her life. If that's what she told you, then she was lying. But I guess you're used to that by now. Derek's face turns red, and he takes a step toward me, still holding the bat. Don't you dare talk about her like that. Like what? Like someone who lies to get what she wants? Like someone who steals money from joint accounts? Like someone who has affairs and then blames her husband for driving her to it? Shut up. Or like someone who's probably already looking for her next victim now that you've served your purpose. Derek swings the bat at the lamp next to my recliner, sending it crashing to the floor in a shower of ceramic and sparks. I said, shut up. The truth hurts, doesn't it? You thought you were the hero in this story, rescuing the poor, neglected wife from her boring husband. But you're not the hero, Derek. You're just another mark. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? How much money have you spent on her in the last 3 months? Dinners, gifts, maybe helping with her rent after she moved out. I bet it's been expensive, playing the role of the successful boyfriend. Derek's expression shifts slightly, and I know I've hit close to home. And now that the divorce is getting messy, now that there are lawyers involved and assets getting frozen, I bet she's been asking for more help. Maybe some financial assistance to get through this difficult time? She's going through a hard time. Her husband is trying to destroy her. Her husband is trying to protect himself from someone who is planning to steal $50,000 and disappear. But you already know that, don't you? Because she's probably asked you to help her move that money. Derek lowers the bat slightly. You're crazy. Am I? Or am I just better at math than you are? Because here's the thing about Reina. She's always planning her exit strategy, always looking for the next opportunity, the next source of financial security, and right now, you're that source. You're lying. Ask her. Ask her about the offshore accounts. Ask her about the wire transfer requests. Ask her what her plan is for the two of you after the divorce is finalized. She loves me. She loves what you can do for her, just like she loved what I could do for her until she found someone who could do more. Derek raises the bat again, but there's less conviction in his movements now. You're trying to mess with my head. I'm trying to save you from making the same mistake I made, because in 6 months or a year, or whenever Reina finds her next upgrade, you're going to be standing in someone else's living room having the same conversation. The sound of sirens cuts through the night air, growing louder as they approach my house. Derek hears them too, and panic replaces anger in his expression. This isn't over, he says, dropping the bat and heading for the door. Yes, it is, I call after him. It's been over since the moment you thought you could intimidate me. Derek rushes outside, probably hoping to get to his car before the police arrive, but I blocked him in with my truck, and now Bree has moved her car to block the other end of the driveway. He's trapped in my front yard when 3 police cars pull up, their red and blue lights painting the suburban street in colors of justice and consequence. What happens next unfolds with the inevitability of a well-engineered system reaching its designed conclusion. The police arrest Derek for breaking and entering, vandalism, and criminal threatening. They take statements from me, Bree, and Kana, all of whom provide detailed accounts of Derek's behavior over the past week. But the real show starts when Reina arrives. She pulls up just as the police are putting Derek in the back of a patrol car, and her reaction is everything I hoped it would be. She jumps out of her car and starts screaming at the officers, demanding they release Derek, claiming it's all a misunderstanding, insisting that I'm the real criminal in this situation. He's been stalking me, she shouts, pointing at me while I stand on my front porch documenting the scene with my phone. He's been harassing me and my friends. He's trying to destroy my life. Ma'am, one of the officers says patiently, we're going to need you to calm down and step back. I will not calm down. This is insane. He's the one who should be arrested. For what? For... She struggles to articulate a specific crime, waving her hands frantically. For being controlling, for spying on me, for ruining my relationship. None of those things are crimes, ma'am. They should be. By now, half the neighborhood has come out to watch the spectacle. Mrs. Patterson from next door is standing on her porch in her bathrobe, taking pictures with her phone. The college kids who rent the house across the street are live streaming the whole thing on social media. Even old Mr. Kowalski from 2 houses down has emerged from his cave to witness the drama. Reina seems to realize that she's become the center of attention, and her tone shifts from righteous anger to desperate pleading. Please, she says to the lead officer, you have to understand, this man has been systematically destroying my life for months. He's turned my friends against me, he's frozen my bank accounts, he's made it impossible for me to work or live normally. Ma'am, if you have complaints about your husband's conduct, you need to address them through your divorce attorney or file a separate report. Right now, we're dealing with a breaking and entering situation involving Mr. Mallon. But Derek was just trying to talk to him to work things out. By breaking into his house with a baseball bat? Reina's face crumbles as she realizes that her narrative isn't working. The police aren't buying her version of events, the neighbors are recording her meltdown, and Derek is sitting in the back of a patrol car looking like a man who's finally understood the magnitude of his mistakes. "This isn't fair," she whispers, but her words are lost in the chaos of police radios and neighbor conversations and the general buzz of a suburban drama reaching its climax. The police finish their work and drive away with Derek in custody. The neighbors gradually return to their houses, already composing the social media posts that will spread this story through our entire community by morning. Bree and Keena approach me as I survey the damage to my living room. "Well," Bree says, "that was dramatic." "More dramatic than I expected," I admit. "How do you feel?" I consider the question seriously. My house is damaged, my marriage is over, and my life has been turned upside down by months of deception and betrayal. But standing here in the wreckage of my living room, surrounded by the evidence of Derek's desperation and Reina's manipulation, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. "Free," I say. I feel free. Reina is still standing in my driveway, staring at her phone like it might provide some solution to her problems. When she looks up and sees me watching her, her expression hardens into something cold and calculating. "This isn't over, Rowan," she calls out. "You think you've won something, but you haven't won anything. You've just destroyed everything good we ever had." "We never had anything good, Reina. We just had an elaborate pretense that fooled me longer than it should have. I tried to save our marriage. I tried to give us another chance. No, you tried to manipulate me into a position where you could control the divorce proceedings. There's a difference." She gets in her car and drives away without another word, leaving me alone with Bree and Keena, and the satisfaction of a war finally ended. Over the next week, the legal consequences of Derek's breakdown unfold exactly as I hoped they would. He's charged with multiple crimes, his employer fires him after learning about his arrest, and his landlord begins eviction proceedings after neighbors complain about the disturbances he's been causing. More importantly, his actions have completely undermined Reina's legal position. Her attorney withdraws from the case after learning about Derek's criminal behavior and Reina's attempts to hide assets. The judge fast-tracks our divorce proceedings, awarding me a larger share of our assets due to Reina's financial misconduct and Derek's harassment campaign. By the end of the month, I'm officially divorced, Derek is facing criminal charges and financial ruin, and Reina has moved back in with her parents while she figures out how to rebuild her life. As for me, I'm sitting in my repaired living room, drinking good whiskey and reading the final divorce decree that officially ends 8 years of marriage and 3 months of the most intense psychological warfare I've ever experienced. My phone buzzes with a text from Old Man McNally. "Johnson Logistics wants to offer you a promotion. Seems they were impressed with your ability to handle complex problems under pressure." Another text from Bree. "Drinks tonight to celebrate your freedom?" And a final text from an unknown number that turns out to be from Derek's attorney. "My client would like to discuss a plea agreement that would include a restraining order and restitution for damages to your property." I set the phone aside and pour myself another drink. Tomorrow I'll start thinking about what comes next. The new job, the new relationships, the new life I'm going to build from the wreckage of the old one. But tonight, I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the silence of a house that's finally completely mine.